Hey now, welcome to the City Off Campus podcast with your two favorite hosts, Sammy Sommerfeld and Jack McFarland. Today, we are with Iowa Hawkeye men's basketball director of recruiting and player development, Courtney Eldridge. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to, kind of sharing my story and, letting guys know about the Hawkeye basketball program.
Yeah, for sure. So my first question before we dive into Hawkeye basketball, which I'm sure everybody will be excited to listen to, I want to dive into your personal basketball career because before you were a coach and doing recruitment and development and all that stuff, you played. So when did you first start playing basketball and what was the beginning of your basketball journey?
So, I've been playing basketball actually since I can, remember. My dad played basketball at UMass in the mid 70s. So he was like right after Dr. J.
That's cool.
He passed away in 1980 when I was 17 days old. So basketball has been kind of embedded in, it's in my genes. And before I can remember walking, I remember, having a basketball and dribbling a basketball. So it's something that's been near and dear to my heart, kind of kept me connected, to my father. Basketball is more than just a game to me. That was one of the reasons why, I've stuck with it and been able to, somewhat fulfill, a lot of my dreams.
Yeah, that's great. And so one question I have for you you played at UNC-Greensboro under current Iowa coach Fran McCaffery. So
Yes.
what was that recruiting process like for you? And what was it like being recruited by a younger, less experienced at the time Fran?
Well, actually, Coach McCaffery didn't recruit me. So I was already there. So I had just finished my freshman year and our coach got fired and Coach McCaffery came in on my sophomore year on. So I unfortunately didn't get recruited by Coach McCaffery, but, being that he was my coach my last 3 years of college, my career, really took off and went into a different direction. He really gave me, him being a former point guard himself, he was able to, give me, some of the intricate details that it takes to play the position, give me the utmost confidence to go out there and play to my strengths, make mistakes. I wasn't looking over my shoulder and, looking at the horn, waiting to be subbed out if I missed a shot or I turned the ball over. He just let me play free. And, that's one of the things that he stresses today to the guys. He wants them to, play to the best of their ability and as hard as they can for as long as they can. My college career was awesome. When I left UNC-Greensboro, I was the all-time leader in steals and assists. I was, I think, in the top 5 in scoring at the time. The highlight of it being, we went to the NCAA tournament in 2001. That was a dream come true. And that was, one of the reasons why I went to that institution. I wanted to be part of history. I wanted to be an intricate part of the history. And, subsequently, my jersey was retired, at the end of my senior year. And, I left my name all over the history books at that university and, have nothing but the great times and experiences in the 4 years that I spent there.
Just to quickly go back, you said that Coach McCaffery came in after your freshman year. What kind of message and what was the tone that he kind of brought into the locker room, and how did the team receive it at first? Because that's a tough ask for any coach to come into a program with guys that he's not necessarily, responsible for recruiting. What was that like when he came in?
To me, it was like a breath of fresh air. Us being both Northeast guys, in North Carolina at the time, I got him, you know what I mean? Just his mannerisms, his vocabulary. He was, truly, a godsend, for our team. We came off like a 7-22 season and, the times where it was looking really bleak and he, as you've seen him on the sidelines, previously, imagine him, 20 years ago. At 39, vibrant and more. His passion was really contagious, and not only did you want to, perform for yourself and your teammates, but you really wanted to perform for Coach McCaffery. And, our relationship was deeper than basketball, and it has, stood the test of time for over, 20 years now. And, after I finished playing, we always stayed in contact. And, I would come back and work camps, whether it be at Greensboro or at Siena, or even here. I came back here, 2 years in work camp before I was even, hired on staff, and I was still playing. It was just, the connection that and love that we had for one another that made me want to, give back to him as much as I could. He credits me with helping, jumpstart his career, and I credit him with helping jumpstart mine. So we have the mutual love and respect for one another.
How have you seen Coach McCaffery grow since those days at Greensboro to now? And especially with the different, I guess you could say it's a different basketball, but it's always the same game.
Mm-hmm.
How have you seen him change, if any, as a leader and as a coach?
I've seen him now be a little bit more relaxed than he has previously, in terms of, letting the guys play, not micromanaging, players. What he sees on the sideline, it's different from what the guys see, in between the lines, and he gives them that respect. Like, yeah, I see this, but I want you to, the play might not be what I see over here. So you go on and make the play that you deem necessary at the time. And then, we'll watch film, and if we make mistakes, we'll correct it so that it won't be a habitual mistake. He gives the guys a lot more leadway, now. Before, as a young coach, he wanted to leave his imprint, on a lot of things. But now I see him, really being more of a, I guess the term would be, somewhat of a player's coach, but, he's always been open to suggestions, but more so now he wants that feedback from the players and makes them feel comfortable. Hey, coach, I think we should run this because I see this, or the guy's guarding me this way. I think this will work. He really is open-minded and wants suggestions from and input from his players.
So from your experience playing at a mid-major D1, where you got to go to the tournament, you went to the NIT, to now being a part of a Power 5 Division I program where going to the tournament's an expected thing, or the last couple of years it's been the goal, and to achieve beyond that. How do those experiences differ from each other, from your experiences at the mid-major level to the, Big Ten Power 5 level?
Yeah. At the mid-major level, every game counts, right? And I'm not to say that every game doesn't count at this level, but I think, well, in my personal experience, like, I wanted to go out there and win every game. It wasn't, I know we have, bye games, right? So it's, some guys might feel, oh, we're playing so-and-so today, like, let's just kind of coast and go through the motions. Whereas, our bye games, we were going to play Power 5 teams, right? It's like, yo, let's show these dudes that we can play at this level. And, you couldn't take any game for granted. You had to win your conference tournament, to get to the NCAA tournament. So, it was balls to the wall every single day, every possession, and not saying that, we tend to take possessions off, but we knew, that was the only way we were going to get there. And as a captain, I kind of wanted to instill that into all, my teammates. I wanted to practice harder so that, my backup point guard, when he got in the game, there was no drop off. I wanted practices to be just as hard, if not harder, than the games for him. And I knew that, we would have, the team success. And I know at this level it's truly, to be on this side of it is amazing. And I, don't want these guys to take it, a lot of the stuff for granted, because, I was on the other side where, we weren't flying charter, we were flying commercial. We didn't have training tables. You ate at the cafeteria. You had to get out of practice and run to the cafeteria before it closed to get your meal. We got, not a knock against Papa, but Papa John's was our meal, after the games. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't have the trash bags of gear that, the guys get here. We didn't have the 15,000 seat stadium. So like, I want these guys to cherish this, and it can all be, taken away from them. And just appreciative of what they have, because not everybody has this option. And just keep the same drive and hunger, because, as you progress and want to get to the next level, the chances of you getting to that level are really slim.
How did playing at the mid-major level and the experiences of going to the NCAA tournament and playing, higher level mid-major basketball, how did that help you entering a professional career going overseas?
So, I mean, it was really good. It helped a lot that, the level that we played at, the SoCon at that time, had Davidson and College of Charleston and, Appalachian State teams that are not in the Southern Conference anymore, but, were really good mid-major programs. College of Charleston was ranked in the top 25 at the time when I was there. I just missed Steph Curry by a couple of years, but Davidson had always been, a really big, Gonzaga of the East, so to speak. You know what I mean? And now, they're in the A10. So, our conference was a great mid-major conference. So somewhat similar to kind of what, Missouri Valley is now. Really tough teams, but it prepared me to, be able to play professionally, and I could play against guys who had played at the Power 5 level in college. Because once you get to that professional level, it doesn't matter what you were ranked or what college you went to. We're all in the same country, getting paid, and it's me against mano y mano. You know what I mean? So like your history means nothing to me. You know what I mean? And I got satisfaction from having guys say, they're like, damn, I hate playing against you. You know what I mean? Or getting the respect from my peers, regardless of where they went to school. But my college experience prepared me for that. Again, we were, one of the best teams in the conference, and being able to win the championship. And like you said, the year after my senior year, going to the NIT. So, playing against, the Memphis team and DeJuan Wagner. So like we played high level basketball on a consistent basis, and it prepared me for life, after college.
Yeah, before I dive into your overseas career a little more, I wanted to ask you, what was that NCAA tournament experience like for you?
Yeah, it was a dream come true. Just the whole, I think now, when you're in at Iowa, right, for the most part, we just, okay, where we going, who we playing against. Mm-hmm. That excitement, it kind of it's not as much as it was exciting, that year, after winning the tournament. We're like, okay, we know we're in, but where we going, who we playing, you know what I mean? And just that experience was, it's one of the top, greatest moments of my life. Just, unfortunately we were 16 seed, and we got to play the number 1 overall seed in Stanford Cardinal with the Collins twins and Casey Jacobson. They were a really good team. I think might have been the number 1, team at the time. But just having that, and went out and played in San Diego, at the Aztec Stadium, and just going out there, and it was a dream come true, man. And we hung with them for the first 25, 30 minutes of the game. And then the Collins Center just kind of wore us down. We had the size, our starting 5 could really compete and play. Everybody played professionally, after college, and we could compete. It was just, as we went down the line, the bench, that you kind of saw the separation.
Yeah, not having enough depth.
Mm-hmm.
So with your professional career, I know you've played in multiple countries, from Brazil, Poland, Italy, Turkey, Dominican mm-hmm. Republic, and a few others. What were some of the highlights, and what were some of your favorite countries to play in, and what were the moments of struggle playing overseas?
Okay, my first overseas experience was in Brazil, and that was, one of my favorites, just because of the weather. The season's opposite, so I would leave, Boston in August, where it was, fall, and go down to Brazil when it was spring, about to be summer. So like having 4 seasons of good weather was really awesome. And being down in Brazil in December, and it's 90 degrees, being on the beaches and Rio and Sao Paulo, the food, and it was really high level basketball. played against like Marcelino Huertas when he was, a young, 18-year-old. So Brazil ranks as one of my favorite places to play. The food was unbelievable. It was kind of like America, where you have, different people from all walks of life. They had people that look like me, people that look like you, so different nationalities where, I didn't seem, somewhat out of place, whereas some of the other countries I was, I stuck out kind of like a sore thumb. Italy was an awesome experience. I was like 30 minutes outside of Rome. So
Cool.
again, the food was awesome, just learning, the history. And, it got to the point where I would ride by the Coliseum, a couple times a week. And it was okay. The first few times, like, oh, there's the Coliseum or there's the Vatican. And then, after a few months, it was like, you wouldn't even, look twice, over there, but just learning, the rich history of there. And there was a lot of tourists, coming in. So you would meet a lot of people and, form some lifelong relationships with people from, different countries. And, it also made me appreciate being an American. I think it's something that we take for granted, not knowing how it is in, other people's struggles. The population in Brazil was so bad. Like if your license ends in a certain number, you can't drive on certain days. I lived in Belarus, Minsk, Belarus, and, communist Russia, USSR. And, you had to get permission, back in the day, not modern day, but you had to get permission, from the government to buy certain things from the, the grocery store. There's just certain things that, we take for granted, other people really struggle with. And, one of the low points, I was like just experienced, racism, in different countries, being told that I couldn't enter,
Wow.
An establishment or whatever because of the color of my skin. Like I couldn't imagine, what my ancestors went through in, the 50s and the 60s here in America. And, here it was 2012 at the time, I was told that I couldn't, enter, a building because, the color of my skin, which is, it was heartbreaking. And I couldn't imagine, living through times like that. But, overall, had some really good experiences in some really good countries, great countries. Learned to, respect, people of all walks of life and religions, and, learned a few languages at the time. Don't know them anymore, but, I had to learn, different languages to, just order, a simple meal or communicate, somewhat with my teammates. But just, basketball, was our common language. And, again, have friends, from all over the world, who I'll continue to talk to for as long as we live.
So you've been to, half a dozen countries, let's say, and play professional basketball in those countries. Are there any venues or specific settings or a game that stick out where you go, man, like they really care about basketball here more so than I would have ever expected?
Mm-hmm. So, one year I was on a team in Poland and we were like the Polish champions. And so we played in the EuroLeague. And, the EuroLeague for arguably is the second best league in the world, right? So, playing in, against Tau, Ceramica, when they had Thiago Splitter, and, playing against Partizan, Jan Vesely, and just the atmosphere in Partizan in Serbia, Belgrade, that was one of the most electric venues I've ever been in as an opposing, team member. They've lightened flares and, jumping up and down and singing and raising flags and, throwing things on the court. If it, we sat with a barricade, a plastic barricade with kind of a loop over. So like, they can't throw anything on you. But man, the fans are so passionate about, sports. And I know, obviously soccer is the most popular sport over in Europe, but if, haven't seen a soccer game, or the fans on TV, it's basketball is just as passionate in an enclosed space, but like, they have their songs, they, jumping up and down. It's electric. It's an experience that I hope a lot of guys get to experience. It's breathtaking. It's something that honestly you remember for the rest of your life. But again, like being over in Europe and playing against some of these guys, while they were a little bit younger, and while they get to to the NBA, just seeing that their progress and following their progression is something that I truly enjoyed.
So at what point during your career did you make that decision? You're like, all right, I'm done dribbling the basketball. I want to help coach. I want to be behind the scenes. And what inspired you to make that change?
So in all honesty, it was the birth of my 8-year-old twins now. So at the time I was in Turkey when they were born. So my wife, was kind of just going to get a routine checkup. She was at work, and I have twin boy girl twins, Jordan and Aaliyah, and the girl twin was taking more of the nutrients than the boy twin, so they had to take them out then that day. So I had spoke to the team in the preseason, like, hey, my wife is pregnant, like I'll be having to go home at some point in time. But it was a Thursday. We had a game on a Saturday, so they wouldn't let me leave. So I couldn't go home till Sunday after the game. I was home from a Sunday to Thursday, so saw the kids in the hospital for a few days, and then I had to go back to Turkey to finish the season. Came back in June, and I went to the Dominican Republic in July. So I was home for a month, left, came back in September. Wanted to spend some time at home. Normally, you're going back to Europe, so I waited till at least Christmas to stick around and spend some time with the kids. Left right after Christmas to go back to Poland. So I was in Poland again from January to May, and that was the first time those 5 months that I got homesick in my whole career. And that let me know that it was time. I was 34, 35 at the time.
Oh, wow.
So, still, physically able to perform and play, but, just being homesick for the first time let me know that it was time. And also, I knew, my time was running down, but it was, just time to be home full time and focus on, what was next. And I was fortunate enough to, coach high school at the beginning. I coached high school. I refereed, AAU stuff, just to, stay involved in the game. And that was the year Iowa played in Brooklyn in an NCAA tournament. And, that was a 4-hour drive for me. Called coach. It's like, coach, you guys are playing, Temple on Friday, like I come up to the game. So, I came up to the game, sat in the, the pregame meals and, stuff like that, and just kind of absorbed, what life on, this side was like. Went to the game. It was an exciting game. They won, went back to the hotel with the team and, had the post-game meal and started watching, film on Villanova with coach and the coaching staff. Drove back home to Boston that Friday night after the game. Came back up Sunday for the Villanova game. Kind of the same, process. And, after that game, coach said, well, why don't you come down to Houston to the Final Four with us? I introduce you to some people and, kind of see what's what. So, I buy my flight down to Houston with, Coach McCaffery, and we're going to, Dick Vitale parties and, sitting with him in the lobby, and just watching the, the Final Four games, and he's introducing me to people. And then like 2 weeks later, I think Coach Billy Taylor at the time was the director of basketball operations. And, that's when he got the head coaching job at Belmont Abbey. And there was an opening in the staff, and Coach McCaffery called me and said, see, I got an opening on staff as a video coordinator. Is that something you'd be interested in? And, that was an absolute no-brainer. And I guess kind of the rest is history. So 2016, June of 2016, I became the video coordinator here at the University of Iowa, and it was probably one of the best positions that I could get. And I was, very thankful, and it was a skill that I've learned and I'm very grateful to have learned it, and it will certainly help me set me up for the rest of my career in this profession.
I wanted to take it back real quick. You said you were a ref for a couple AAU games.
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy that a lot, or did you feel like the heckling in the background from the parents thinking their kid's going to be an NBA All-Star was a little like, come on, like let's wake up and smell the coffee? Was there a lot of that?
It was a lot. I definitely enjoyed it. It was fun. Just being as a basketball player, seeing, that side, of the game, just learning things that I didn't know as a player, the intricate rules and details you got to pay attention to as a referee. But, I think one knock on me, I kind of refereed like I played. It's like, oh man, that ain't no foul. Don't be looking at me for a foul. That was no foul. You got to go stronger to the basket than that. But, refereeing, and I don't want to sound sexist or anything, but reffing, girls basketball was harder. I would have parents, on me like, oh, that's a foul. Look, and, young girls at the time, they were kind of falling down with, incident or no contact at all. And it kind of looks like a foul from where some people were standing, but right on top of the play, there was no foul. So parents would get on me, definitely, young first, second, third grade girls basketball was hard to referee for sure, but I really enjoyed it. And, you kind of tune them out. So I give the referees that we have a little bit more respect. It's a hard job.
How did you go from, being a player under Coach McCaffery to being a peer and colleague on his staff with Coach McCaffery? How did that relationship evolve and change? And was that a weird transition for you?
Yeah, it definitely was a weird transition for me. I always, refer to him, as coach, and, it took me a while to want to add my input on certain things. Whereas not that, the coach is always right because he wants input, but, I was kind of reluctant to kind of overstep my boundaries and kind of wanted to stay in my lane and just kind of observe and learn and not, say anything that was going to upset him or say anything wrong. But, he really encouraged me to do so. Like he wants my input, because I see things differently. We all see things differently, and some things that I saw as a player, he wants me to see, and add that to kind of, and the relatability to I have with our guys now. He wants, see how can we help the guys do X, Y, and Z, or if I can come back to him and say, hey, coach, like this might not be working for these guys. Let's try, this way. And so that dynamic took a little time to develop, but now, I'm 5 years in and I have no issues, with adding my input, and he really looks to me for that.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to ask you about, especially with your role now as director of recruiting player development, I kind of want to break that up a little bit. My recruiting question for you is, recruitment now in college basketball is almost like an entire sports news industry in itself, where everybody's following the high school recruits, everybody's following every reporter who has news on everything. How do you as a staff or you individually kind of go about building relationships with recruits, and how do you kind of, sift the ones who are kind of, there's the mutual interest, and who are the ones where you guys might kind of push for? How do you go about in that relationship process and the scouting process?
Okay. Like we've done, I think, a really good job of identifying talent early. And that helps in this process. I can't speak on anybody, specifically, but, we've been able to, identify kids as, rising sophomores or, rising juniors who, if they continue on that trajectory will be, Power 5 level players. And so we've been able to, kind of get in there before, other Power 5 teams and, get to their high school or, watch them play and bring them on campus. So there's, some mutual loyalty, somewhat, so to speak, right? So-and-so, Iowa has seen me, they've been calling me for 2.5 years, like, and, they've been historically successful like this is a place that I could see myself. Coach McCaffery does a really good job of being personable with, the parents and the players. And I think that's one of his best attributes as a coach. Being a Philly guy, he could, talk to kids from, all over, the country, and, you feel comfortable talking with, people from all walks of life. And, truly that's one of the greatest qualities, that he has. Again, he's, 60-year-old, white guy from Philadelphia, but he can hold a conversation and relate to, kids that are, 15, 16, 17 years old from all across the country. And not a lot of guys can do that. And, he's been able to, again, really identify kids, early and stay in there. And obviously, there are times where, the kid that he's on the trajectory and he continues to go where we think he's going to go. And, other guys, come in kind of lately and are able to, the blue bloods come in and, other Power 5 teams and kind of lose out on them. But I think we're going to continue to identify, kids early and, bring in guys that fit with our program and our style. Also, coach is really big on who he recruits. It's not just, their basketball talent. They have to be able to fit in with our culture and our program and in this environment. And nowadays, one bad recruit can take down a whole coaching, staff and university. And, he feels comfortable at night with his head on a pillow, knowing who he has in this program. And it's up to us as, his staff to, kind of find those kids and weed out the kids that, won't be successful here.
Yeah. And I think that's very evident when you look at the roster, when you look at the coaching staff too. It just seems like everybody fits the program. All the Iowa fans see the players always pumping each other's social media posts up on each other's social medias, and they're always together and everything like that. And it seems like everybody wants to be there, which, is very rare to see, I think, in college basketball, where, it can be a very me type of thing with some of these top guys. But the other key thing I wanted to ask you about is player development, which I think Iowa basketball and Iowa football now are kind of like, they're very correlated, where both programs really develop guys and pride themselves on the developmental process. And I just kind of wanted to ask you about, what the developments of guys like Wieskamp Garza, who have come through in the past, Jordan Bohannon, all these other guys, Keegan Murray, Patrick McCaffery, all the guys who are in the program now. What's kind of the developmental process from, they sign to commit to Iowa and you kind of are putting a plan together when they come in as freshmen in the summer? And then how does that carry out into, when they start seeing minutes and seeing time on the court? Like, how do you continue to build year in and year out to make them better players?
And I would say, first and foremost is the commitment from the player, because we can have the plan in place, but if, these guys aren't showing up every day or getting in the gym on their own time, it's going to all go for naught. So, those guys' willingness to be in here and want to get better plays a major part in it too. And that's part of the recruiting process, right? We want to recruit guys who are going to be in here. We have the fingerprint, technology, so like they can get in here at all hours of the day. We don't want guys who are going to spend most of their time, downtown, hanging out. Now we want them to enjoy their college life by all means, but, we don't want that to be, why they're here or the highlight of their 4 years here. Ultimately we want to get, we have a wall here with some of our NBA guys, and, when guys walk through here, we tell them we want your picture, on this wall. And, that's the mindset, and it's contagious, right? We want an atmosphere like that. But to answer your question, nowadays it's a little easier because, they come in here in June after their senior year. Whereas before you come in September or August and, you're kind of behind the 8 ball, the freshmen, so to speak, but, they're able to come in June now and, go to summer school and get acclimated to, what its college life is like, taking classes, and, we have, 8 hours a week where we're, able to physically, be able to do things with them and, to get the lifting part down. We have a nutritionist and, our strength and conditioning coach who, individualizes plans for each player. Okay, Keegan, this is a good weight for you. This isn't a good weight. We got to take it off. We got to put some more, like whatever it is, it's catered to each individual. So, we have an 8-week session in the summer. They go home for 2-3 weeks. And then we're back in the fall. And now we're, doing preseason stuff, and it's, skill development. It's, guys coming in, on their own, before or after, whatever it is. And then, because, once we get into the season, we're practices, individual stuff is kind of slimmed down a little bit as we're preparing and scouting, teams as we get into games, and we're not practicing as hard or as long, we're not lifting as much. So, a lot of it is getting stronger in the summer and the preseason so that, once we get to January, you're not, breaking down or wearing down. That's kind of the peak, right? We've got to keep going because we're preparing for March then. And then, the season, kind of goes by, and then it's postseason. And that's another really important part of the player development side of it. Okay, you assess how you did during the season and some of the things you need to work on, individually to collectively, move the needle for the team. So then, we do have, skill development groups, with guards or bigs and centers, or, how we break it up like that. So you're working on, just the different aspects of your game where you need to improve. But again, a lot of it is, the guys' willingness to want to be in here and get better and want to, hear their name called, by the commissioner of the NBA. And we were fortunate to have 2 guys do that, this year. And it's testament to who they are. Luka was every single day for 4 years, this dude brought, the same level of intensity. It didn't matter if he was going up against, Tyler Cook or Michael Bear, like he brought the same level of intensity every single day for 4 years. And to really see, him get rewarded for his hard work is really gratifying, because, a lot of kids, think it comes easy, and it did not for him. And to see the work he put in, night in and night out is really amazing. And I hope, other guys, saw that really the hard work paid off. And for Weezy, again, he was one of the guys that, LC, can we work out in the morning? Like, we call it the breakfast club. He would come in and, 8:30, 9 o'clock, before class, you know what I mean? And want to work on, pull up shots, 1-2, stuff that he needed to personally in his game. We all know that he could shoot the basketball, but he wanted to work on ball handling. He wanted to work on his mid-range game. He wanted to work on his post-up game. Just, just the other aspects of his game where he wasn't getting, the individual attention, in practices or for whatever reason. But, those 2 guys, stood out to me that, they knew what they wanted and wouldn't be satisfied. Even like Tyler Cook, like his development, like we helped, now he's a small ball 5-man in the NBA, but his ability to dribble the basketball and make plays for other people is kind of what helped him get there. And, that was something Coach Matt, when he recruited, told him that, him playing with Jason Tatum in high school in AAU, Jason Tatum had the ball all the time. Tyler, you go down there, you post and you dunk it, or you get it off the rebound and you lay it in. Like that was, kind of his game back then, right? Well, Tyler, if you come here, we're going to give you the ball. We're going to let you rebound it. We're going to let you push it and make plays for other people. And his freshman year, did he make some mistakes? Yes. But at the same time, he wouldn't have been the player who he was his sophomore and junior year if, coach didn't give him the confidence or the leadway to make those mistakes and learn from them. Now he's going to be, a small ball NBA center, which has a skill set that, that they're looking for nowadays. Again, there's a lot of film study too. Coach was really big on film, when I was playing. And back then, you had to have the two VHS tapes. Like, so you had to record over something to record something. And, you know, it was a really long, tough process, but, you know, we watched practice every day of the previous day's practice. And I think that was really something that, you know, kind of was innovative back then. And it was something that helped me, you know, kind of visualize and see it. Well, Coach, I didn't do that yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, the film doesn't lie. And, you know, that's something that we do here. Obviously, technology has evolved, and, you know, our guys have their own iPads with, you know, the practice from the day before it gets uploaded up to it, you know, probably 30 minutes after the practice is over, so they can watch it themselves and kind of assess what they did right or did wrong. And, you know, we'll break it down as a staff. We clip it up, and then we watch, you know, our clips before practice, you know, the next day, say, oh, you know, just to clean some things up or to exemplify, you know, somebody doing something right. But the film is a big part of player development as well.
Yeah. One thing that's really interesting, and one thing I wanted to ask you is, you know, you talked about Luka's season, Lee's camp last year a little bit, what they were doing to get better. What was, I'm going to call that bubble season, like for you as a coach and experiencing it? What were some of the highlights from it? And what were some of the moments where you're like, this is just bizarre, as somebody who played pro, you know, never had to play with no fans and all this stuff. What was that like for you? And how did you, as one of the coaches on staff, keep the morale up for the players?
Yeah, it was difficult at first, you know, in all honesty. You know, these guys are used to playing in front of a packed house. You know, that's what they signed up for when they come here and want to play in the Big Ten. But, you know, one of the main, you know, our main goal was to get to March and to, you know, to play in the NCAA tournament. So I think that was kind of what kept guys focused on, you know, okay, we got to go out there and take care of business, because it's just another stepping stone to where we need to get to. But it was really difficult, and it was, you know, amazing that guys were able to stay, you know, focused and locked in, where sometimes, you know, that was a tough atmosphere to play in. You know, we would have more noise at practice than you would have at games, you know, for, you know, the built-in crowd noise just it was like a little, you know, all over, you know, the court really did nothing. And, you know, just to have, you know, the guys, you know, getting, you know, COVID tested, and, you know, they couldn't really have the college experience, you know, kind of be isolated. And, you know, we really were concerned about their mental health. And, you know, the way that they were able to perform and sustain it, and kind of, you know, be locked in and locked down and couldn't go out to get something to eat, or you couldn't really hang out with, you know, your girlfriend, or, you know, because you don't know who she was around, and, you know, getting COVID tested, you know, multiple times, you know, a week to daily to, it was, you know, it was a lot to ask for these kids, and hopefully, you know, we'll get to a point where, you know, we won't have to, you know, live through this anymore. But, you know, what they were able to accomplish last year, you know, I don't want to go kind of unnoticed. It was truly, you know, undescribable, you know, for someone who didn't go through it. And testament to these kids' character, and you know, they wanted to do it for each other. And you know, that was one of the things you talked about, you know, like the selfishness, the selflessness that they have. You know, we led the NCAA in assists. You know what I mean? Like, now, granted, the big fella was a lot of recipient of, you know, some of those assists, but, you know, the guys really wanted to share the ball. And when you have, you know, guys like that, again, it becomes contagious, and you don't want to just do it for yourself. And I think that's when you have really good teams. You want to do it for each other. And, you know, that's a really important quality.
Yeah, definitely. And before Jack wraps with his final question, I have one more question for you that I'd love to ask you, which is now going into this season where fans hopefully will be back in Carver. As of now, they're going to be back in Carver, which I'm excited for. I'm ready to come to a game again. You know, this team's going to look different with some of the younger pieces being main focal points. Obviously, people have talked about Keegan. You know, Pat's going to be a main guy. Joe's stepping up as, point guard now. Jabo's moving over to shooting guard, and all these other, Philip Brach is coming in to step in a little bit for Luka and all these pieces. How has it been like now to basically reconfigure the team in different ways after playing with Luka as the focal point these last 2 years with shooters around him? It was kind of, just kind of set. Everybody kind of knew what their roles were. And now some of these roles are shifting. What's that kind of been like? And what has it been like prepping for this upcoming season? What are you looking forward to and all of that?
It's very exciting. Like you said, guys are going to be, in new roles, and the roles aren't defined. And, that's what the opportunity comes in. And that's why the guys signed up to come here. You want to play the highest level against the highest level competition and kind of measure where you're at. And again, there's nothing like, okay, we knew the big fella was going to get what his points and Weezy was going to get his 15. And now, those two guys are gone, and it's time for somebody to step up. And that's what the game is all about, is evolving. And, guys are going to have opportunities to step up and be major players on this team. And that's the excitement of it. Don't know who it is, and it can be, different people on different nights. But I think, as these guys, they prepared, all summer for this. And I'm excited to see, what Tony Perkins does with, extended minutes, and Aaron Eulis. You really didn't get to see those guys, play very much last year. And they've had a great, summer and fall thus far. Joe Toussaint's going to have, more responsibility now, and, just seeing his game, evolve and grow over the time. And it's going to continue to grow. Keegan and Chris, they're, going to be important pieces, for us this year. And, they're stepping into more leadership roles. And, P-Mac is a bucket. P-Mac is going to go out there and shoot threes and run the floor and dunk and get offensive rebounds. And, again, I remember Patrick before Patrick was born. He was running around Greensboro with capes on, you know what I mean? Like, but just seeing, him grow into who he is now, it's been, truly awesome to see. Connor's, the OG on the team, and one of, the vocal leaders, and having Bo out there is always a calming presence. Because he's been in the big games and makes big shots, and guys are going to look to him to kind of be that guy when things they aren't going to go as planned all the time, you know what I mean? But he's been one consistent over the last 5 years. So he's going to be a really common presence for the guys to look to, and his voice is going to be very important for the guys.
I call him the coach on the floor. That's what I call Connor. He's the coach on the floor. He's Fran
truly is.
Fran in a jersey.
He truly is. And that's not something that I think the everyday fan values, but you need that guy who knows where people are going to be, or tells people, where they're going to be or where they go. And, as being a point guard, like, that the pass has to be on at the right time and in the right spot. You know what I mean? And, the guy who shoots it kind of gets all the credit, but, even the hockey assist, like just knowing, who needs the ball where, and just be that voice, like you said, in the locker room or in that huddle, is really reassuring. And I'm glad, we have, J-Bo and Connor, kind of there in the backcourt to be those voices.
And is it fair to say we're going to be playing pretty fast this year? We're going to be running up the floor.
We're going to do a lot of things. We have more, flexibility to do a lot of things different defensively too. So, before, ball screen action with the big fella, we had the flat shadow, right? And but now we can be a little bit more aggressive. We can trap ball screens. We're going to do press a little bit more. We have the length and the athleticism, all over the floor, to really, be aggressive and do things differently than we have in the past.
And to kind of wrap it up, this episode is going to be coming out tomorrow, Friday, day before the Iowa State Cyhawk game. Just wanted to quickly touch, stepping into Iowa, did you have much of any knowledge of like what the Cyhawk game meant to the people in the state of Iowa? Okay, so he's nodding no for everyone who can't see.
I did not.
And then just to double on that, what is it like truly like from a third party perspective from your own, where you're stepping into this? What is it like being in the middle of the rivalry?
So, like just the whole, fandom, right? From the Hawkeye fans is nothing I've ever experienced, in my life in moving here. I remember the first, kind of football weekend, my first year, and, the parking lot's closing. I see people standing out there. I'm like, dang, the game's not until tomorrow. But I see like, RVs and stuff kind of pulling in and people start tailgating. I'm like, game's not for another 18 hours. Like, ooh, what's going on here? And then, getting in Kinnick and experiencing that, like, it's truly, Iowa is special and the fans are special and they make this experience really worthwhile. And so to answer your question, the rivalry, I'm a, being a Boston guy. So, I hate the Lakers. I hate the Yankees. I hate the Colts. I hate the Giants. So, big Patriot, Celtics, Red Sox fan. So I kind of make it equivalent to the Red Sox Yankees rivalry, right? It is truly great for the state. And, having been a part of, a few Cyhawk games and, just the atmosphere and the I guess the hatred for one another is truly, kind of one of a kind. And I'm grateful to be a part of it and grateful to be on the Hawkeye side. Going, I have a friend actually from back home, Will Blaylock, who was a point guard for, Iowa State back in the early 2000s, him and, Curtis Stinson. And so, him and I talked to him yesterday and told him, hey, big game coming up this weekend. Now, granted, we talk more about basketball, but, the football is just as exciting. And I'm looking forward to Saturday's game with, two top 10 ranked teams. And, hopefully the Hawkeyes come out on top there again this year. It's really difficult though, but so every year that we have it, we're both either on the road or at home. And, it makes it, kind of difficult, right? To go, on the road, both teams and to play on the road. But I guess it's equally as fun to have it both home games next year. So hopefully we can both, go out there at Ames and get some W's.
Yeah, and I figured that was the perfect question to end this on because I don't think – no, seriously, I don't think there is any rivalry or game that the Hawkeyes take part in that carries this much emotion and passion from the players and the fans alike. Like it's truly, like you said, it's nothing like you'll ever know until you really experience it. And I've lived in the state since I was 6. And I told everybody once I moved back to Illinois, I said, this rivalry is truly like nothing you have any idea. You got to be there to feel it and really know what it's about. This weekend's going to be absolutely amazing. And every basketball game between the two from the future now. I mean, there's a lot of bad blood. Iowa State's been on the short end of the stick for a long time, and I'm pretty sure it's going to stay that way. So, it's really exciting to be on this, the right side of history. But Courtney, we cannot thank you enough for taking the time today, hopping on the pod. Like always, guys, not the same time, same place. We will see you guys later.